Hey y'all, welcome back. Today we're checking out Britain in 1987, a year of bad news. Okay.
Welcome back to the channel and to our series of Britain in the 1980s. A big thanks for your support of the channel so far, and if you haven't subscribed yet, then hit that button and tell your friends all about it. It's completely free and I can guarantee you more nostalgia than you can handle.
Y'all be sure to go to Retro Rollback and like and subscribe, and maybe give me a like and subscribe. Here. Thank you.
Right, let's get started. This time, 1987.
Hit me with the bad news.
And if you were in the southeast of England, you had a very cold start to the year.
I was not.
The Big Freeze of 1987, as it was named, saw the heaviest snow to fall in that part of the UK since the winter of 1981. Over 50 centimetres of snow fell in southeast England, with some locations reporting snowfall at 75 centimetres. The effect was stark, as motoring organisations had to deal with more than 4,000 breakdowns and 500 schools were forced to close. The kids weren't complaining though. The extreme cold weather even affected the chiming hammer of Big Ben, and at Southend-on-Sea the sea froze over, whilst Rutland saw the mercury dip to minus 23.3, making it the coldest recorded temperature in the East Midlands at the time.
Okay. Minus 23.3 Celsius is what in Fahrenheit? Celsius to Fahrenheit. Minus 23.3. Oh, that's minus 9 Fahrenheit. Pretty cold. Now let's do centimeters to inches. He said 75 centimeters and some 29 inches. That's over 2 feet. That's a lot. Y'all, snow is fun for like a day, and then it gets gross. Snow's a pain.
Day saw the release of a film that's gone down in history at the time. New Year's Day saw the release of a film that's gone down in history as a British cult classic, With Neil and I. The black comedy about two unemployed actors starred Paul McGann and Richard E. Grant, and is often lauded as one of the best British films ever, and is regularly voted as such in public polls.
Yeah. So I became aware of With Neil and I within the past couple years watching, I think it was a Watch Mojo UK video, and it was listed as one of the best British movies. So I started watching it, and y'all, it was depressing. It had funny parts, but it was just depressing. It starts out in their apartment, and it's disgusting. So they're living in this squalor, and then they drive out to the country to go into this cabin. I didn't enjoy it. I didn't like it. A few minutes after they got to the cabin, I just stopped. I didn't like it. Maybe I need to give it another chance.
In a decade marred by crowd trouble and tragedy, police were setting about cleaning up the image of English football. Operation Full Time was aimed at capturing the ringleaders of the gangs from West Ham and Millwall. Police carried out a series of dawn raids and made 26 arrests in their biggest operation so far against soccer hooliganism in England.
The game will not restart until the pitch is clear. Get off the field!
In royal news, Prince Edward, at the age of 24, resigned from the Royal Marines on the 14th of January, shortly after officially joining only a few months earlier. He dropped out of the Commando Corps, having completed 1/3 of the 12-month training. Media reported that Prince Philip, who was Captain General of the Royal Marines, was displeased. I think raging may have been more accurate.
Wow. Y'all, I didn't know there was a Prince Edward, but he looks like... Is he King Charles's brother? Prince Edward. That looks like him, right? Dropped out of the Commando course. How Prince Edward was reduced to prolonged tears after berating from Prince Philip. After leaving university, Edward had joined the Royal Marines, who had paid £12,000 toward his tuition at Cambridge University on condition that he served 5 years. However, he dropped out of the grueling commando course after completing just 1/3 of the 12-month training. Philip, who was Captain General Royal Marines at the time, served in the armed forces himself and was known to be a tough father, was allegedly not best pleased. He was reportedly furious because he thought Edward was letting the family down by failing to complete his military training. He was probably crying for a few days. Your daddy's not proud of you, Edward. Your daddy is ashamed of you. Live with it. Suspicions were first raised when Edward did not return to training after the Christmas break, officially because of the flu. Right. A top-ranking Marine officer visited him at Buckingham and urged him to go back to Lempstone to undergo counseling, which was given to every recruit considering dropping out. Finally, the palace issued a statement saying His Royal Highness Prince Edward had decided to resign from the Royal Marines with great regret. After his decision was made, Prince Philip was reportedly so angry he and Edward are said to be barely speaking. However, a poll of the British public found that 80% approved of his decision and 70% felt Philip should have supported him. He was simply a square peg in a round hole. That's what she said. Hell, I'd probably quit earlier than he did. What actually made him quit was he simply did not like it. Who would like it? Edward's friend, model, he's hanging out with models, y'all. Romy Adlington went to Buckingham Palace to see him after he was given a hard time in the aftermath of his quitting the Marines. He has often asked me, what is it like to go for a walk alone in the park? How does it feel to be able to walk in a shop without everyone staring at you? That's all he wants to be able to do. Yeah, I'm not very sympathetic to his problems.
I think raging may have been more accurate.
That face.
On the 26th, Terry Waite, the special envoy of the Archbishop of Canterbury in Lebanon, disappeared in Beirut whilst negotiating for the release of hostages. He remained a hostage himself until 1991.
What?
And as the month ended, the privatisation and flotation of British Airways on the stock market began. As the airline was taken out of state ownership, it also began the takeover process of British Caledonian, which was completed in July. Into February and
Is that still around? British Airways still a thing? I think it is, right? It seems familiar. Yeah. They're still flying about. Ray Jack doll cookies. Great deal still on at $702. That's not bad, y'all. That's not bad.
Ford launched a new model in their Sierra range. The Sierra Sapphire appeared on Britain's roads, whilst other models went through a facelift. The Church of England's General Synod voted to allow the ordination of women as priests. The groundwork was put in place, and the first woman to be ordained as a priest in the Church of England was Angela Berners-Wilson in March 1994. 1987.
Took a few years for that to go through, I guess.
Angela Berners-Wilson.
Congratulations, Angela Berners-Wilson. Break that bread.
In March 1994. 1987 saw a few tragic events in the UK, and the first came on the 6th of February when the British Channel ferry the Herald of Free Enterprise capsized whilst leaving the harbour of Zeebrugge in Belgium, killing 193 people on board.
Oh, wow.
The disaster was caused by the failure to close the bow doors on the ship's departure from Zeebrugge harbour on its way to Dover. The car deck quickly filled with water and capsized within 4 minutes of leaving its berth. On the
I've never seen a ship roll over on its side like that. That's terrifying. I mean, I guess it didn't. At least it didn't go all the way under. But God, people died. Someone forgot to shut the door. Shut the door. Shut the door. Damn.
And capsized within 4 minutes of leaving its berth. On the 28th of March, former Doctor Who actor Patrick Troughton died of a heart attack at a hotel in Georgia, USA.
Patrick Troughton. He's from Mill Hill, Middlesex, y'all. He went to school in Long Island, New York. What a guy. He joined the Royal Navy in World War II. Wow, he's a vet. Congratulations. Troughton tended to shun publicity and rarely gave interviews. He told one interviewer, I think acting is magic. If I tell you about myself, it will spoil it. I like that. Maintain some mystery. That's what this world is missing. Actors with mystery. He died in Columbus, Georgia, after a science fiction convention. I know where Columbus, Georgia is. I've been there. He was warned by his doctors not to exert himself because of his heart condition. He suffered a third and final heart attack just after ordering breakfast from the hotel. After a local cremation, his ashes were flown back to England. During the passage to England, the ashes were mislaid temporarily. This delayed his funeral by a few weeks. His widow, Shelah, later scattered them beneath a newly planted tree in Bushy Park, a favorite place of Troughton's near to his family home in Teddington. Rest in peace, Sir Troughton. Mr. Troughton.
Died of a heart attack at a hotel in Georgia, USA. And March ended with a huge sum of money being paid for an iconic painting. Christie's auction house in London sold one of Vincent van Gogh's iconic Sunflowers paintings for a mind-boggling £24,750,000.
How much? Did it get sold since then? I bet it did. Let's see how much it's worth now. Van Gogh. That's the one. Y'all, this is not his best painting. It's actually pretty drab. Who paid $24 million for this crap? All respect to Van Gogh, but that is not his best work. All three of these others are better, right? There's more color. Well, I'm not seeing how much it's worth now, but I guess it's worth how much someone will pay, right?
Boggling £24,750,000.
Rip off.
To April, and Britain came close to the return of the death penalty. It went to the vote in the House of Commons, where MPs voted 342 to 230 against its return.
Good.
The auction rooms were red hot again in April, this time when the jewellery of the late Duchess of Windsor went under the hammer in Switzerland. The gems went for a massive £31 million, including a diamond brooch which actress Elizabeth Taylor bought for £400,000.
Jeez.
On the 5th of April, Arsenal won the League Cup for the first time in their history with a 2-1 win over Liverpool, earning them their first major trophy since 1979. Charlie Nicholas scored both of Arsenal's goals.
Way to go, Charlie.
The UK's first hospital ward dedicated to the treatment of people with HIV and AIDS was opened by Diana, Princess of Wales, at the Middlesex Hospital in London. At a time when AIDS deaths were hitting their peak and fear around the virus was rife, Diana broke down barriers with pictures of her shaking hands and hugging patients on the new Broderick ward.
That was a big deal. I've heard about that a lot since then. She did that when no one else would. I don't think Ronald Reagan or Nancy Reagan would even mention the phrase AIDS or HIV by then. Or did they? I don't know. Oh, okay, he did in 1985, only because a reporter asked him a question about it. I mean, even now there's this stigma about, like, using the toilet after someone with AIDS or HIV used the toilet, or shaking their hand, or, being in the same... People have all these fears around it, but you gotta get pretty intimate with someone to catch it, from what I understand, right? Diana knew that.
And as the football season drew to a close in May, Everton were crowned champions of Division 1, with neighbours Liverpool in second place.
Okay, Everton, Liverpool, Tottenham Hotspur, Arsenal, Norwich City, Wimbledon, Manchester United's 11th, Chelsea's 14th, Newcastle United 17th, Leicester, Manchester, and Aston Villa were relegated. I know what the red means, y'all. I'm learning.
Leicester, Man City and Aston Villa all made the drop into Division 2, whilst Charlton Athletic won the end-of-season playoff in the season of the introduction of playoffs throughout the English leagues. Coventry City won the FA Cup for the first time in their history with a 3-2 win over Spurs in extra time, thanks to a Gary Mabbutt's own goal.
Nice.
And it was the underdog that won the Scottish Cup final. St Mirren beat Dundee United by a 1-0 to lift the silverware at Hampden Park.
Wide open, number 8.
And a random fact for you as well. It was the last Scottish Cup final where all of the players and managers of both clubs were 100% of Scottish nationality. Rangers won the Scottish...
That is a fun fact. Now the pool is cluttered with other nationalities.
Rangers won the Scottish Premier Division, whilst Clydebank and Hamilton Academical faced relegation.
Good to see Aberdeen, Texas, still making a mark here. Way to go, Texas.
Back to the news, and the 11th of June was General Election Day in the UK, and it saw Margaret Thatcher secure her third term in office as Prime Minister.
Wow.
Her parliamentary majority was reduced to 102, compared to the 144-seat majority gained at the election 4 years earlier. In royal news, the Queen granted the title of Princess Royal to her daughter Anne, 22 years after the death of the previous holder of the title. On the 27th of June...
What does that mean? Princess Royal? Why? Why did it take so long? What does this article say? When the Queen created her only daughter, Princess Royal, she not only elevated Princess Anne to a unique and historically significant role within the royal family, she also bestowed on her the rarest of all royal titles. Princess Anne is only the 7th person to bear the title Princess Royal in the 3.5 centuries since King Charles I decided to make his daughter Mary the Princess Royal in 1642. Since then, the title has only been conferred on the eldest daughter of a sovereign, but there is nothing automatic about it. With every firstborn male child of the sovereign has automatically succeeded to the title Prince of Wales. The title of Princess Royal has not been passed down to eldest daughter in the same way. There have been several occasions when the title has been allowed to lapse. There was a gap of 70 years between the What does it mean? What does it mean though? Princess Royal. Title customarily but not automatically awarded to British monarchs to their eldest daughters. Although purely honorary, it is the highest honor that may be given to a female member of the royal family. What about Queen? There have been several Princesses Royal. Princess Anne became Princess Royal in 1987. What does it mean, though? What does Princess Royal mean? Great question. It is the eldest daughter of a reigning monarch. It's strange that that's the definition of it, but then it's up to the discretion of the monarch to give it, because that it's more of a matter of fact. But I guess, what does the Princess Royal do? 300 charities, organizations, and military regiments in the UK and overseas. None of that cleared things up at all. Okay, do it how you wanna.
Death of the previous holder of the title. On the 27th of June, 25 years after the first James Bond film was released, The Living Daylights premiered in London, with the spy now being played by Timothy Dalton in the first of his 2 Bond movies.
Right.
Okay, before we hit the...
Yeah, I remember Timothy Dalton as him. As James Bond. He was a lot more, fierce, intimidating, and aggressive. Roger Moore had this, suave, soft thing about him. Almost feminine in a way. Timothy Dalton, he has the face of a shark. Wasn't Timothy Dalton in Hot Fuzz? He's great at comedy. He plays a villain in that. He's great at comedy.
Okay, before we hit the second half of 1987, let's have a bit of retail therapy once again. The average weekly wage in the UK was £182 a week.
It went up.
Off to Asda for the weekly shop first of all, where a wholemeal loaf was 41 pence, a 2-litre bottle of lemonade 49 pence, and 60 pence for an iceberg lettuce. A shout out to someone who commented on one of my previous videos who used to work in the TV rentals markets and said that TV rentals started to die out around 1987, and these were the monthly fees to rent the latest TVs and videos from
£2
Granada.
a month. Wow.
A large TV and video recorder for around £32 per month.
Oh, okay. Save up to £2 a month. Wow. That seems like a lot. Yeah, I bet by 1987 most people owned their own VCR, right?
Large TV and video recorder for around £32 per month. And finally to cars, where Lada were on a big marketing drive in 1987 for the Riva model.
Who?
Cars, where
Lada?
Lada were on a big marketing drive in 1987 for the Riva model, using customer testimonials to try and convince people that every comedian in the 1980s who was making a living out of Lada jokes were wrong. The top of the range Riva was going for £4,400 on the road.
Wow.
What do you...
Let me read some of these headlines a little bit closer here. A lot of buyers tell how I did it. A grand deal and a half for Mr. Bray. £1,500 minimum part exchange. They're not really saying anything fun. They're just saying, I paid this much for a car.
Was going for £4,400 on the road. What do you call a ladder with a sunroof? A rubbish skip. It had to be done.
A what? A what?
A rubbish skip.
A rubbish skip. I don't get it. I don't get it. What's a rubbish skip? A large, open-topped waste container. Okay. So it's a trash can. A bin. Got it.
As July began, one of the largest bank robberies in history took place when robbers with handguns entered the Knightsbridge Safe Deposit Centre, broke open many of the safe deposit boxes, and left with a hoard estimated to be worth around £60 million. A fingerprint left behind led police to the culprits, who were imprisoned for 22 years.
Wow.
Brit-
Wow. When he first said that they opened all the safety deposit boxes, I thought, that's dumb. Like, you don't know what's in there. It's probably some old photos or something, but it was £60 million. I stand corrected. But they got caught. Got it. Y'all, when you rob a bank, wear gloves, right? We all know this. These guys are f***ing stupid.
led police to the culprits, who were imprisoned for 22 years. Britain had a brand new theme park in 1987 as summer arrived. Chessington Zoo was renamed Chessington World of Adventures and made into a theme park by owner Madame Tussauds. Prince Edward attended the official opening on the 7th of July.
That's why he quit, y'all. That's why he quit the military. He wanted to go to the amusement parks. It was renamed Chessington World of Adventure. Is that still there? Show me on a map. Where is it? Oh, Southwest London. Okay. Okay. Show me satellite. Look at it right there. Land of the Tiger. Frazzle the Dragon. Frazzle the Dragon? Frazzle the Dragon? Frazzle the Dragon. Look at that, y'all. Does it move? Oh, yeah. Oh. He talks. That dragon is frazzled, y'all.
Novelist and former Conservative MP Geoffrey Archer won a libel case against the Daily Star newspaper over allegations he was involved in a vice ring. Later in 2001, he was convicted and imprisoned for perjury in connection with this case.
What? What?
Then on the
What's a vice ring? Should I know that? A group of people involved in immoral, illegal activities, especially illegal S-word or D-word. What does this article say? Vice girl Monica talks about Archer, the man she knew. Poor Jeffrey. I can't read it. Another one bites the dust.
Imprisoned for perjury in connection with this case.
Perjury got
Then
him.
on the 27th of...
It wasn't the crime. It was the cover-up.
Then on the 27th of July, pop music's most reliable man released his debut single. Rick Astley promised he was never going to give you up, and a whole lot of other things.
Wow.
The song spent 5 weeks at #1 and was the year's biggest selling single.
Wow.
Commuters in London had a scary experience in
5 weeks at #1. What else is on this? Nothing's Gonna Stop Us Now, Starship. I love that song. I love that song. That's a guilty pleasure. I want to dance with somebody. Whitney Houston. My mom loves that song. You Win Again, the Bee Gees. I don't know that one. China in Your Hand, T-Pal. Respectable, Mel and Kim. Stand By Me, Benny King. I remember that. Oh yeah, that song came back because of the movie, right? It's a Sin, Pet Shop Boys. I've heard that. Star Trek and the Firm, don't know that. Pump Up the Volume, Mars, yep. Bumped up the volume. Dance, dance.
Commuters in London had a scary experience in July as the Queen officially opened the Docklands Light Railway, the UK's first railway where the trains had no drivers. That still scares me.
Yeah. Yeah. It is kind of scary. I think I only ride on a train with no driver at an airport.
The end of July saw the launch of Peter Wright's book Spycatcher, a memoir written by the former MI5 officer where he drew on his experiences and research into the history of the British intelligence community.
Cool.
The book was banned in England due to its allegations about government policy and incidents.
Dope. Well, that makes me want to read it. Spycatcher, Peter Wright. Spycatcher. Oh. It looks like he was giving away a lot of secrets that you're not supposed to give out. He wrote it in Tasmania so he could do it. English newspapers attempting proper reporting about Spycatcher's principal allegations were served gag orders. On persisting, they were tried for contempt of court. These charges were eventually dropped. Wow. That's playing with fire. I wouldn't do that.
August was dominated by a horrific incident. Michael Ryan shot dead 14 people in the Berkshire town of Hungerford before taking his own life in what became known as the Hungerford Massacre. The death toll rose to 16 when 2 more people died later in hospital from their injuries.
That happens in America a lot. We just had a shooting at Florida State last week, I think.
In October, Swedish homeware retailer IKEA opened its first British store in Warrington and subjected the UK to a world of self-assembly furniture and some rather tasty meatballs.
Wow.
And
I didn't know IKEA's been around that long. I think I first became aware of it in the early 2000s.
Operation Deep Scan was launched in Loch Ness in a bid to locate the Loch Ness Monster. The operation cost £1 million, and guess what? There was no monster. Money well spent, eh?
Well,
on the evening of the 15th of October, trusty weatherman Michael Fish stood in front of his wobbly weather map and reassured the nation that the rumoured storm that was alleged to hit Britain wasn't going to happen. And then this happened a few hours later. Yes, the Great Storm of 1987 saw hurricane force winds batter much of southeast England, killing 23 people and causing extensive damage to property.
Wow, look at that.
2 days after the end of the storm, some 250,000 homes in the region were still without electricity. Poor old Michael never lived that one down.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Can you imagine the feeling? Wow. Poor Michael, y'all. Damn. That's some guilt. Wow.
Then a few days later, there was a major storm on the stock market as Black Monday hit the London Stock Exchange, with £50 billion wiped off the value of shares. And October ended with one of Britain's most famous sportsmen being arrested. Retired jockey Lester Piggott was sentenced to 3 years imprisonment for tax evasion. As November began, the rise in popularity of acid house music saw the first reports of illegal raves being held in derelict buildings across the UK.
That's amazing. That started in 87. In my mind, that is a late 90s, early 2000s thing. But it started over a decade before that.
And in a bid to shake off the stigma of always running late, British Rail set a new world speed record for diesel traction as a test Intercity 125 reached 148.4 miles per hour between York and Darlington.
Wow.
But the train still ran late. London had a brand new airport in 1987 as the Queen officially opened the new London City Airport in the Docklands area.
Oh.
The airport was designed to principally serve the new financial district and in its first year of operation handled 133,000 passengers.
Where's that? Where's that airport? Show me on a map. There it is. It's by the river. It's by the river. It's by the river. It's on the river. It's on the river. River.
As Fireman Sam hit our screens for the first time, the show, voiced and narrated by John Alderton, started on Welsh channel S4C and debuted on BBC One soon afterwards. The show is still running at the time of recording this in 2025.
Really?
A bomb.
Fireman Sam. It's a good name for fireman because it rhymes with fireman. Fireman Sam. There he is. Oh yeah, they've had a style upgrade. Oh yeah. Is it computer animated now? Computerized. Show me a clip. Show me a clip. Show me a clip on YouTube. Show me a clip. Let's go to a clip.
Best exactly where you are.
Yes, okay. It is currently computer animated. Okay.
The show is still running at the time of recording this in 2025.
Way to go, make
A
that
bomb
money.
exploded during a Remembrance Day service at Enniskillen, killing 11 people. It was the highest death toll in a terrorist attack in Northern Ireland for 5 years. At least 63 people were injured in the blast, 9 of them seriously.
Wow.
The device went off without warning at 10:45 a.m. at the town's cenotaph, where people had gathered to pay their respects to the war dead.
Oh,
And yet
it was at a vet memorial? That's kind of heartless, right? Enniskillen. Oh, Enniskillen. What a name. 10 civilians and a police officer were initially killed, many of them elderly. A 12th man was fatally wounded, entering a coma from which he would later die. And 63 were injured. The IRA said it had made a mistake and that its target had been the British soldiers parading to the memorial. See, y'all? Why are we killing each other? It undermines support for the IRA. Well, damn it, y'all. What's next?
And yet another tragedy struck on the 18th of November, the King's Cross fire. 31 people lost their lives as fire ignited under a wooden escalator at London's King's Cross Underground station, before spreading into the ticket hall in a flashover. Many new safety features were implemented in the aftermath of the tragedy across London's tube network. The 15th of December.
What caused that? The inquiry determined that the fire had been started by a lit match being dropped onto the escalator. The fire seemed minor until it suddenly increased in intensity and shot a violent, prolonged tongue of fire and billowing smoke up into the ticket hall. The sudden transition in intensity and the spout of fire was due to the previously unknown trench effect discovered by the computer simulation of the fire and confirmed in 2 tests on scale models. What's a trench effect? A combination of circumstances that can rush a fire up an inclined surface. It depends on 2 well understood but separate ideas: the Coanda effect from fluid dynamics and the flashover concept from fire dynamics. Wow. Fire's wild, y'all. Fire's not a substance, it's a reaction. Isn't that crazy? Blows my mind. This is a year of bad news.
The 15th of December saw the first sod cut, commencing the construction of the
What?
Channel Tunnel, linking England to France. And on Christmas Day 1987, over 25
Okay. Yeah, I think in the last videos when it was started or officially started, but then the construction actually started in 87.
England to France. And on Christmas Day 1987, over 25 million viewers tuned in to see one of Coronation Street's longest serving and most loved characters say her goodbyes to the cobbles for good. Or should that be sing her goodbyes? Hilda Ogden, played by Jean Alexander, bowed out of the soap for the last time after 23 years.
Oh,
And with that fine singing
wow. Usually they'll kill somebody off. They don't just have a Christmas party and say goodbye.
And with that fine singing voice, we say goodbye to 1987. Thanks for watching once again, and don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoy these videos. I'll see you again on the next one.
Y'all be sure to go to Retro Rollback and like and subscribe. Yeah, a lot of big accidents this year. It's so interesting to see some of these little tidbits I've heard of because they leaked over into America, or there's some kind of American influence, but a lot of it's like Rick Astley. Never gonna give you up. I heard that when it came out. Yeah. But a lot of this other stuff I had no idea about. It's like an alternate universe. But I'm sure to many of my British watchers it's nostalgic, right? To me it's like watching a documentary of an alternate reality. Very strange. Interesting. There's that London City Airport on the river. Well, y'all, thanks for watching this with me. I'd like to thank my patrons. I'd like to thank my Buy Me a Coffee folks. Thank y'all for watching this with me, and I'll see you next time. Later.